Zach Galifianakis voices a broken best friend robot in the first feature film from Locksmith Animation. Let's talk about Ron's Gone Wrong. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Ron's Gone Wrong. It's in theaters exclusively right now. And before we get into the specifics of the film, I do want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video and my channel. Please consider subscribing down below. We'd love to have you aboard as we approach 900 subscribers on my channel. But let's get to this movie, Ron's Gone Wrong. So I mentioned a couple things up front. Zach Galifianakis, yes, he is here voicing the title character, Ron, a best friend robot. But we also have Jack Dylan Grazer as, you know, his best friend boy named Barney. Ed Helms and Olivia Colman play his family members, and we also have the voices of Justice Smith and Rob Delaney, among others, in this film. But I also mentioned that this is the first movie from Locksmith Animation. So it is distributed by 20th Century, so slash Disney at this point. So you've got, of course, the big spotlight from Fox at the intro, but this is sort of an ongoing thing with them, because yes, there is a Fox animation and they do, you know, a few things, but Locksmith is essentially replacing Blue Sky Studios, which closed during COVID permanently, and that included movies like Ice Age, all of those, the Rio series, Horton Hears a Who, a lot of the movies in the last 10 or 15 years that were distributed by Fox, but actually came from Blue Sky Studios for the animation. So this is Locksmith's foray into the animation world, at least for feature-length movies. And I think it does show a little bit. Some of the animation, I think, is lacking a little bit. I think it's a bit, you know, crudely drawn. It's certainly not nearly as sophisticated as some of the other animation films that we've gotten this year, including another very tech-savvy one, The Mitchells versus the Machines, one of my favorites of the year. But let's save that for in a moment here. Let's talk about the actual plot of this film. So we're a few years in the future, and this tech giant, Bubble is the name of it, unveils their big new creation, the Bee-Bot, which is basically a kid's best friend robot. But not only that, it helps the kid find real-world friends as well, because if they have a Bee-Bot too, they can match up whether or not the children like the same things, you know, watch the same TV shows. Are they a match in the real world? And in addition, of course, you know, you can live stream from your Bee-Bot, and it has infinite number of skins you can use for it for a different look. So, I'm not sure how far in the future we are, but it doesn't seem like this type of thing is super far off, realistically. But I think the age of the kids in this movie is like middle school, maybe like 6th grade or something. And so this poor kid, Barney, literally and figuratively, because he has no real friends, but he's poor money-wise, so everybody in his class has one of these Bee-Bots, and he doesn't. So he feels left out from that as well, which I think is a real interesting lesson for children in the audience watching, because, you know, a lot of kids take for granted things that they have and things that their parents buy them. I was a poor kid growing up, and, you know, we had some things, but certainly there were a lot of things I really wanted and couldn't get. So his dad, played by Ed Helms, goes and finds sort of a you know, not a knockoff, because he is an original Bee-Bot, but he just got sort of busted up in the travels to the store, and so he's not quite equipped with all the right components and software. So we're assuming he got some sort of deal on it, and we find that out pretty quickly when Barney turns him on, and well, Ron's gone wrong. So this film tackles a few things that I think are important for kids to see. Not just the, you know, inability of some kids to, you know, be able to have, you know, the latest iPhone or whatever it is, the latest video game, because, you know, some kids are economically different than others. And so I think that's an important lesson. And the, you know, tact of being glued to our screens and being so reliant on getting likes and stuff like that. And this is stuff that's certainly been explored before. Mitchell's versus the Machines is a prime example of that. But even, I hate to say it, but the Emoji Movie kind of went through that a little bit, not with any sort of commentary at all, but it's ground that they were treading upon. But here, I think the commentary is probably, of all of that I mentioned, I think it's the most evocative here. I think in the Mitchells versus the Machines, it is more of a side story. Like the daughter, had her live stream and she wanted to make videos and stuff. But certainly the tech aspect of that as a plot device was heavy. But in terms of kids using social media, especially to give them happiness and sort of justify their either depression or happiness. I think this movie actually cuts the deepest with that commentary and is the most important for kids to see. Now, that being said, there's a lot of ways this thing sort of goes off the rails. The last third of the movie is so ridiculous, and it becomes sort of this espionage thriller type of thing, where, I don't want to get into too many details, but part of Ron's, system is that he doesn't have that, safe for families software. So, he ends up kicking the butt of the school bully, and that gets him in a lot of trouble. And so things sort of escalate from there. But the last 20, 30 minutes, it gets really kind of off the rails, and the believability factor goes completely out the window. It just gets kind of crazy. But that being said, and the crude animation, all of that is no match for the simple fact that this is by far the funniest animated movie of the year. I did laugh at the Mitchells versus the Machines, absolutely, and it is a better film overall. But this thing had me howling. I haven't seen a movie this funny in theaters, I mean, in years, since certainly before COVID. Maybe the second Deadpool movie. I mean, this movie is hilarious, but it's in leaps and spurts because it all really has to do with Ron. So any scene that Ron's not in, where we're just seeing Barney with, his would-be friends and sort of being a sad sack kid, and obviously that part is not funny. So there's big chunks where it's not funny either. So it's definitely unbalanced in that regard. But man, this thing is a hoot. Other than maybe Coming to America 2, it's got to be the funniest movie I've seen all year, at least so far. So that certainly speaks well for it, even with all of its flaws, and it does have them. But I think it's going to be a fun movie for kids. I took my nephews to it, who are 16 and 10, and they both just enjoyed the heck out of it, and we all laughed together. And they didn't seem bored with the more dramatic parts and the more emotional parts and the sensitive parts. So I think that speaks well for it, too. So overall, this is a positive grade. It's certainly got some flaws, and I can see everything they were kind of going for. I'm not sure they hit all of those marks, but Ron's Gone Wrong gets a B from me. This year has definitely been hit or miss with the animated movies, but I think this is a good one to take your kids to in the theater, and that will do it. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.